good afternoon to you, our cherished and discerning listeners. It's another beautiful and blessed Wednesday, and we're excited to bring you another good edition of your favorite business development program on Radio Masterclass. Masterclass is powered by Joy Business and brought to us by Goyle. Goyle Good Energy, Goyle Yenara Yedia. Masterclass also brought to us today by Lancaster University. They boast of being the only British university campus in all of West Africa. We're excited to be back here on your radio. Week before last, we were discussing the issue of the future of work and how everything has changed. We shared some information in that conversation, and it was this, that according to a report by McKinsey, the onset of COVID-19 has accelerated, if you like, things like remote work. People are now working from home a lot more. Some people have never returned to work since the onset of COVID-19. And again, this feeds directly into the digitalization agenda. We had that conversation here. The difference between digitization and digitalization is a tongue twister there, but there's a difference between the two. There's also a great increase in e-commerce and also in automation. Again, according to a 2016 Future of Jobs report from the World Economic Forum, fundamental skills like critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making will become the building blocks of work in the future. We shared the top 10 jobs that are going to be sort of top, in the coming years, and the top 10 jobs that are going to decline. Today we'll share that information again because we got a lot of feedback from our listeners and they wanted some information on that. All we're saying is that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as someone who's looking to go into the job market, you need to begin to position yourself because everything is changing today. Everything is becoming digitized. Everything is going to sit on a foundation of e-commerce, of digitization, of automation, and we need to put ourselves in the right place and position ourselves to be able to benefit from this kind of future. Otherwise, we become obsolete. So it's either we change or we die, but hopefully we will change and we won't die, and our businesses will survive. I'm privileged to be joined again in this conversation by a friend of the show. He's come to be called a friend of the show. Spent the last couple of weeks with us, and is in the person of Mr. Richard Osei Enim. Richard, you're welcome back to the conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Because we missed the conversation last week to make way for the national budget, I'd just like to do a quick recap, if you will, of our conversation. Today is also one of those shows that has a mixed feeling for us because today we bring curtains to our conversation on Masterclass for this year 2021. Yes, indeed. So we're rounding up the show today, and then after today's show, we'll come back again probably in January, and then we continue with the show. But we'll try and put everything into the show today. So we're going to sort of cram the rest of the information and share it and make sure that we push value out at the end and not just information.
Absolutely.
We're also streaming live on Facebook. If you want to watch us live, just go to our Facebook page, and then you can also follow us live. So, Richard, let's do a quick recap of the thoughts we shared in the conversation the week before last, and then sort of go straight into today's conversation.
Right.
And then we make way for interaction with our listeners when we get interactive.
Okay.
Yes.
So, again, thank you very much for this invitation to share our thoughts on this very important topic. Interestingly, this week happens to be the Ghana Digital Week.
Indeed.
And lots of things going on. And yesterday, it looks like nearly every day I'm talking about this subject somewhere. Yesterday, we had a virtual conversation on the future of work and education, or digital education as a foundation for the future of work.
Right.
So it's important for our listeners, our students, our stakeholders to have a bit of an insight into what exactly is happening. So we looked at the global trends, what is happening globally, what is changing in education, what is happening in work. We looked at the Human Capital Index, and we talked about Ghana being around 5, which means about 50% of the effective delivery or deployment of skills is missing, which then ultimately has an impact on your GDP. Human capital is like the fundamental for all the things we've been talking about. We talked about automation versus innovation. When automation displaces jobs, innovation plugs in and brings in or generates jobs. And the rate at which we're looking at innovation tends to replace jobs faster than automation comes in. But today, and we looked at early childhood development, saying we talked about the fact that students or kids start learning between the ages of 0 and 2. If the mind is not shaped at that time, whatever subsequent learning they do becomes a problem. We talked about stunting. and how that affects growth and the ability for the brain to process information. We talked about basic schools. What should basic schools be doing? What sort of curriculum?
I remember.
What sort of curriculum should they be looking at? The curriculum should have content about global citizenship. It should include creativity, problem-solving skills. They should be aware, empathy. One of the things we talked about. We don't talk about it a lot, but I mean, putting yourself in people's shoes, and because ultimately students will move on and go and work in different places all over the world. They have to be global citizens.
You know, it's interesting you talk about being global citizens. I was in a conversation earlier this week, which, and it ties in directly with what I said earlier about critical thinking. You know, and it was a very simple example that the lecturer gave. This was an online seminar, and he says, if you're an OMC and you sell, let's say, lubricants or fuel, and you're able to sell fuel to, let's say, 100 cars in a day, if you are asked, what did you do today? Your response hitherto would have been, I sold lubricants and fuel to 100 cars.
Yes.
In the area of critical thinking and globalization, you should say, I created convenience for 100 patrons to be able to go on and deliver value to their respective value chains. It's the same thing.
It is.
But you're not looking at it
about framing, the way you frame.
It's all about how we look at things. We can't emphasize it enough. You know, I just want to share that example because now you're not looking only at the myopic lens with which you do things, but you're looking at its effect on the global.
It is. And funny enough, this morning I get a call from one of my partners and is talking about electric vehicles and whether there's opportunity in charging points. And straight my mind goes to, okay, why don't you place it at OM's, what you call oil marketing companies, where people
Locations,
go, locations and whatever. And it's
stations.
like, no, I mean, create your own, whatever. Classic mind about, okay, logistics, investment, and so on and so forth. Like, why don't you put it where the already existing, so that you leverage on the, anyway, it was back and forth. But this thing about framing the conversation, it's also goes about how you change mindsets, how you release latent potential, and that is really what we've been talking about the human capital that exists in this country. How can we make it better? How can we support with the skilling, the retraining?
Richard, another way to make it better is by reading. There's a lot of material that is being churned out on the international front, on the internet, on Google. There are a lot of reading sites, magazines that share thoughts on globalization, worldview, critical thinking, how to look at the same things you've been doing and address them differently. So there's information available.
There is a site I'm on. A subscription is about $300 a year to be on that site. The kind of conversations that happens on there is alien to me, as widely read and as exposed as I am. They're talking NFTs, they're talking crypto, they're talking about going behind digital marketing, digital psychology, how to hug customers. I mean, the thing about customers, bad customer service. How do you hug customers that are upsetting you? So it's all about the conversation and how you frame it. But today I want to talk about technical, vocational institutions, and then also tertiary, the future of technical vocational institutions. It's interesting, the government announced last time, I think I heard the Minister of Education talking about an investment of about $1 billion. I'm not sure if it's dollars or cedis, but let's say we're in Ghana, so cedis. 1 billion cedis in technical vocational education, TVET. It kind of set me thinking. I was like, okay, is it infrastructure? Is it equipment? Is it the teachers?
Training.
Because with everything you talk about when you talk about the future of education, it has to be that core tripartite, sinking things. It has to sink. So the student at the center, the teacher also there, infrastructure and equipment. Okay, now the future of technical vocational, I always cite this example. One of the projects we did, we happened to be in the Volta region looking at some technical schools and then seeing what sort of the exit students, the graduates, what exactly are they going on to do? What sort of courses are they studying? Is it relevant? If you're studying how to repair an analog or whatever, a mechanical fridge or refrigerator, now you've got fridges that have what do you call it? The Internet of Things. They are linked to a supermarket. It can track your grocery that you have there, and as it goes down or as it depletes,
Reorder levels.
it sends a message to the what do you call it? The supermarket, and they bundle it, attach it, give it to a drone. A drone comes, talks to your door, comes in and drops your shopping or your groceries, and then exits. Okay. Now you're studying, and in 2021, you're studying how to repair the kind of fridge that's analog. So what sort of curriculum are we deploying? I know the German GIZ and a few of them are actively involved in the technical vocational school. So it's going to be interesting, the after effect of that 1 billion investment. Maybe we can measure in the next 3-4 years to see what is happening. I mean, are they involved in CNC milling? Are they doing 3D printing? I mean, now you can do prosthetics with 3D. People are printing houses with 3D.
I was going to say,
3D is all sorts of body parts are being created.
Surgery.
All sorts of things are being done with 3D. So from a technical vocational space, actually got a call from Bosch following one of these conversations, and the conversation was about, okay, we're talking about the future of work. There are certain artisans that whatever you do, they will still use Bosch tools. They will still use power tools. Okay, what sort of conversation are we going to have with? And funny enough, I found out that Bosch was involved in all sorts of things: electric vehicles, IoT, smart buildings. And as far back as I remember, my dad was a mechanical, a marine engineer, and I remember from his toolbox going back 70s, 80s, he always had some Bosch tools in there. My mind has always been around Bosch as, but Bosch in 2021 is involved in IoT. The seamless transitions to all sorts of technologies and so on, that they had smart centers, centers of excellence and so on and so forth. So it's important that we have a very good look at our artisans. We're already complaining that artisans are coming from Benin and Togo taking over jobs, but their work ethic.
I get that.
Yeah, the work ethic.
Better,
better trained. The quality of their work. They are effective in all the things that they do. What is happening in our tech vocational space here, and are we preparing them for the future?
I mean, for what it's worth, we also used to have the best pilots. I think we still do. I just thought I'd say that for Ghana.
It even goes back to post-independence. Immediately post-independence, when the colonialists were around, they trained our best and brightest, took them to Oxford, Cambridge, and so on, to come help them build empire. So our best public sector workers, post-independence, I mean, in the Commonwealth, we used to be some of the best.
Best in class.
Best in class, yes. And it's always, we talk about, there's a certain kind of a diaspora, us and them kind of mentality. Like the same of us that live here, go to Yale, Stanford, Georgetown, and all those universities and compete. So the talent is here, but it's about the kind of systems you're opening them to, the exposure you're giving them, and the tools for them to. A doctor trainee in a Ghana Medical School can perform anywhere, but is a function of the kind of tools that you provide. So for tech vocational, and that we're talking about the fact that when you don't really do well in school, you don't pass the GCSEs or whatever, I say, corporate technical school, be here, cool.
That was the narrative
back then. But now, it's important for us to shift that mindset and make sure that we encourage people to see technical vocational as not a lesser route to employment and vocation.
And as you speak, I just want to chip this in, that the reason why it's important for us to line up with this new change in the world, that's the easiest way I can say it, is because we need to position ourselves to be able to create value for ourselves as entrepreneurs.
Yes.
This is what's going to happen. If we don't line up, the companies he's talked about who are producing things, the companies in Ghana who are producing shoes, there's going to be a revolution in shoes.
Yeah.
It's already started. Now, if you don't position yourself for, what's going to happen is that you are going to now be importing those things. You're going to take your hard-earned cash or value, whatever you call it, and pay someone else to do for you what you should be doing for yourself. If you are in a position to produce that and it's relevant, then you now attract value to yourself. And that's what entrepreneurs should be looking at. The reason why you should line up is because for you to stay in business and to be able to continue to attract value, you must be relevant in that space. And relevant with your product, relevant with the times, relevant with everything. We must line up.
The core of that is that impact on our forex. When we become consumers and a nation of merchants, importing all sorts and not necessarily creating value here, adding value to our products here. It's economics 101. if you are not exporting to get your forex, you'll be importing and be expending forex. So there's a need for us to encourage, and maybe like a big campaign, drive to encourage our students to look at TVET as an alternative source of employment. Now you've got about 1.2 million SHS students that will be graduating on an annual basis. The universities, moving on to tertiary universities now, the universities cannot accommodate all of them. So what happens to them? There are some of them that naturally, by their disposition, by their mindset, the way they think and their training and everything, may not necessarily be suited to that academic route through a university. So technical universities or technical vocational institutions are some of the places that they need, but it must be fit for purpose. Otherwise, you get people going there to also go and read humanities in a technical university, which is what I see happening these days. Now, tertiary needs to be reimagined, and you've got to have a rethink. The days where everybody, about 2,000-3,000 people stuck in a hall, you should be able to design programs. When you talk about Omni Channels, where education is pretty much delivered through different channels. Indeed. So Omni Channels, you take Amazon, purely online. They acquire Whole Foods, a purely physical space, merge it, and it becomes an Omni business. So you can order online. You can then physically go there and pick your product and so on. But education, people could even be living on campus but be taking their courses online. Education will become omni-channel, and it's something that one of the things about education I see currently in most African countries is episodic. You do 2-3 years, you get a bachelor's or a master's. But there are now micro masters that several universities in other parts of the world are giving out. Once you graduate, you start work, you're in the world of work, you get married, kids come in, and so on. That kind of pressure for you to go back.
I'm smiling because there's a version of that story that says you go to school, you come out, you get married, you have kids, you buy a house, and then you get a car, and then you buy a dog.
A dog, yes.
A dog called Lassie.
So
that's a narrative.
The family that's defined by 2 or 3 kids and a dog in a little, what you call it, convertible. So universities need to start thinking about how they deliver content. I mean, there are all sorts of courses. You don't when you finish and you get to that level, you're finishing work at 7-8 o'clock. You get home, you eat, what you call it, your cholesterol rush or sugar rush knocks you off to bed. But you realize that about 3 a.m., 4 a.m. you're up. That 2-3 hour gap.
Let me just ask this question to sort of spur the conversation on. Do you think that all of this effort we're putting into trying to reshape the thinking and content delivery in our schools and in our tertiary institutions and all of that is somewhat influenced by an inadequate industry where all of this can play out? Do you think that there's a reverse effect there? Because I think that you would agree with me that there isn't enough industry capacity. When I say industry capacity, it's a phrase I'm just borrowing to say that for all the people we're training to do all the different things, when they come out, is there industry prepared for them? Or the flip side is that
I get what you're saying.
Create their own jobs, but is there an enabling environment for them to?
There's all that. All these things we're talking about should move. It should be synchronized. You cannot have a largely educated young crowd who are just unemployed. No. Industry also says that the students that are coming out are not well trained to take on the jobs, but there must be a certain middle ground.
But if they were, would there be enough capacity for all of them?
we're just in the last minute or so talking about how we need to add value to the things that we do. So there must be a deliberate policy that 1D1F is a fantastic policy if
Brilliant.
you can execute it to the T. That is an avenue of starting an industrialization drive. Now, if you talk about cottage industries, for instance, what are we doing to our share butter? Cocoa. How much value are we adding to cocoa in this country? All the various cash crops that we have, pineapple, even Blue Sky, by chance, they just chanced on this juicing of fruits. When that ash, you remember that ash covered Europe and they couldn't, they were juicing and giving it to staff, and they realized that no, we could. There are all sorts of things that we could do to generate jobs here, not necessarily formal industry like a car industry, and even that you got VW here, you got all sorts of cars making the transition. There's so much that industry can do. There's so much, but that's why we have to have alternative sources of employment and people engaging their time.
Government will do its bit, like you talked about the 1D1. If I'm sure successive governments will do different things. Training for, there's a training for, I think it's in NAPCO or NASCO.
Yes, NAPCO.
I want to throw a challenge to investors in this country. However small, you talked about cottage industries. I think that we can also set up some of these things as individuals, as consortiums. 2, 3 people, 4 people come together and start a certain chain. There are a lot of people in the middle to bottom line who are doing some of these production lines, but it's not it's not huge. They're not serving 500 customers a day, 600 customers a day. We should begin to look into the future in positioning ourselves, create some of this value, because it is only then that after working it for a while, you now begin to line up with what's happening in the international market and who's working in there. The people who are coming out of school are finding relevance, and so it's pushing them to increase content in the schools and capacity, and a lot more people will begin to learn. And at some point, when we have produced more than we need, then we begin to export. Then your forex conversation comes in.
Let's take a product like share butter and look at the value chain of share, from where it comes from in the north and how it travels all the way to a place like Body Shop in the UK, the various processes that it goes through, and at every stage in that value chain, there's a business. At every stage of every value chain, there's a business, and that is what we need to start exploring. If you take cocoa is, I worked 3 years with the cocoa board as an external consultant, so it's a product, or is a crop I'm very passionate about. Now you take cocoa right from the pod all the way to the finished product of chocolate at every stage. That's why you've got licensed buying agents. You've got all these Cadbury. They have outfits here. You've got Kuapakuko. All these guys are at certain points of that value chain. So for every industry that you look at, you can sit down and map out the various stops, and business models can be created around those various points in that value chain. So tertiary doesn't have to be delivered in the current format that it's being delivered, because you're looking at take a place like Legon. Look at the infrastructure, look at the teachers, look at the students. The challenge is that we've got 1.2 million SHS graduates coming out every year. What happens now if you're still going to rely on the same infrastructure that you have? How are you going to cope?
It's going to max out at some point.
It's going to max out at some point. Today, I wanted to look a bit more at the various, the emerging jobs.
Let's go straight to it.
That's I mean, we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Look, there are courses, even if they are introductory courses on the internet. You go to Udemy, you go to edx.org. When I did a search yesterday for artificial intelligence, it threw up about 177 different courses, and some are free. Some are free, yes. Some are charging $100, $200, $300, and so on.
Online.
They're online. They're online. It's really a question of dedication, commitment, and sacrifice.
I have the list here.
You can go through them.
Yeah, let me just go through them quickly. So, growing job demand. These are the top 10 jobs that people should look at, so look out for in the next couple of years. Data analysts and scientists, AI and machine learning specialists, big data specialists. What's big data specialists?
So suddenly, in the last maybe 8 years, the government has started looking at all sorts of projects, digital projects that requires, they are collecting huge amounts of data, sitting on data farms and servers and so on. Somebody needs to analyze that data and make sense of those
there's a video
data.
I saw this week, and when you talk about data, I think that on this show we've talked about data being powerful and the fact that data can create value beyond our imagination. But there was a conversation that talked about the comparison of countries on different parameters, and they said if you're comparing life expectancy, to compute something like that, you would need data on birth and death. You would need data from the hospitals.
The guys who just did the census with the Ghana Statistical Service, that's a huge data. What you call it? You got National Health Insurance, SNIT,
and there are different parameters that you measure.
Different parameters.
I mean, I think the question was, what makes America a great country? And the guy was just comparing. He says, on this we are that, on that we are this, on this we are that. And that's what you talk about when you talk about data. Now, people don't make decisions on it's cheap. I mean, if you're going to buy something, procurement is the cheapest anymore.
No.
Now, there's a lot more people are looking into how long has it been around? What's the quality? What's the return on investment? How long am I able to get value out of it? Am I able to get value plus one, value plus two?
Yeah.
And it comes from analyzing data. And data can tell you stories that you had no idea existed.
I think it's a new gold or new what is replacing oil or any of these
cross analysis
and so on. I mean, it's phenomenal what you can do with data and the stats and so on. But so these are specialists that are required to be able to analyze data, make new meaning out of them, make recommendations.
And there are courses, SPSS,
I'm telling you,
Power BI.
I'm telling you, I mean, it's for free. Go on there, Udemy, EDX. There are lots of sites, and some of these world-renowned universities are behind some of these. So EDX actually is a combination of Harvard and MIT. You go on there, you see IBM courses for free, Google Analytics courses for free, Amazon Cloud. What you call it? There are all sorts of things.
There's an example that comes from it. A friend of mine said, I was having a conversation at home with my wife, and we're talking about a movie, Tomorrow Never Comes. And after our conversation, I went to my phone and I wanted to do something, and I went to Google. And I tried to type something out, and Tomorrow Never Comes was on top of it. I was like, they're listening to me, they're listening to me. But the point is this, that beyond the fact that they're listening to me, they are processing the data. This is why when you're on the internet, have you noticed that?
I have.
Depending on your internet behavior, the things
that
you think about, it just shows up.
It just mirrors everything.
So you're listening
all your
to
searches.
us, you're in school, you're thinking of what to do, you're a business owner, you're thinking of where to put your money. Data is a place to go. I think there's another one here, digital marketing and strategy analyst.
That is an exciting one for me because you do not have a business if nobody knows about your business. How do you communicate? How do you get eyeballs to look at your business? And even after they've looked at it, how do you convert them? How do they become clients? There's a whole psychology.
Again, I was in another conversation last week, which was trying to measure return on investment on advertising.
Okay.
And the company said we had put a billboard at the airport. And we spent X amount of money to put it there. How do we measure the return on investment? How do we know who's looking at it? And data is able to measure, there's what they call number of eyeballs.
Eyeballs,
and number of footfalls. Footfalls is the number of
going
footsteps
by the shop.
Going by the shop.
Yeah.
Now, who would have measured that? We just put it up there and hope somebody sees it. And it's a very busy area, so I'm sure they see it. It can be measured.
Those days of just throwing money at advertising and marketing are long gone. People need to understand what their CD or dollar is doing. Whatever spend they deploy, they must have a return on investment. So it's critical that business owners have an understanding of digital marketing. Who's looking at you? Where are they? How do you get somebody say, how do I get the money in your pocket into my pocket? And that's what digital marketing is about. And there's a whole psychology of getting to understand your client, where they are, where do they shop, where do they drink, where do their kids go to school. What sort of products can you design to target? It's a fascinating area that, let me make this point. There's one agency I'm working with, and they talk about 19 different channels. 19, they can get your product through 19 different channels. I mean, they test it.
Of commute.
Different channels. Online, digital. 19 different channels. And by the time they're done with you, I mean, your product, if it's not number one, then there's something
There's something wrong.
there's something wrong.
Let me just quickly run through this so that we can get interactive and get our listeners to also be a part. So, process automation specialists are also one of the jobs to look out for. Business development professionals, digital transformation specialists,
Yes.
information security analysts, software and application developers, Internet of Things specialists.
Yes, IoT is very is gaining grounds now. That everything is connected. Time, space, mass, distance. It's all connected. The big one there for me is also security.
Information security,
data security. You're churning out lots and lots of information. How do you make sure you're protected with all these things about hacking? I mean, people can actually hack your website and put a notice on that if you don't pay a certain ransom, they don't lift the block on that website. There are all sorts of things happening.
I mean, these days, information security levels are so high.
Yes.
I mean, but rightly so, because the other guys are also not sleeping.
Yeah. I mean, when Al Qaeda was talking to the Americans, they were like, "You guys have to be lucky all the time. We have to be lucky just once."
Wow, that's frightening. So, top 10 declining jobs: data entry clerks, administrative and executive secretaries, accounting and bookkeeping and payroll clerks, accountants and auditors, assembly and factory workers, business service and administrative managers, client information and customer service workers, general and operations managers, mechanics and machinery repairers. Material recording.
A lot of these are routine sort of
and
jobs.
Machines are beginning to do these things.
Yes, I mean, I've actually seen a robot flipping a burger in a restaurant.
We're going somewhere. Hold that thought for me. We want to take a quick message from our sponsors. When we come back, we continue with our conversation.
Your favorite on-air business development program, Joy Business Masterclass, is in session, and you can interact with us on Facebook via the Joy 99.7 FM or Joy Business pages. If you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM or at Joy Business GH. Don't forget to hashtag JB Masterclass. You can also call us on 0302 216541 or send your questions and contributions through to the WhatsApp number 0551 111997, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention everyone, class is in progress.
Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass. We continue with our conversation on the future of work. Phone lines are now open. You can call us on 0302 216 541. That's 0302 216 541. You can also send us your comment on WhatsApp on 055 1111997, and we'll definitely try and read your comment or answer your questions and react to you. Numbers to call again: 0302 216 541, or you can send us a WhatsApp on 055 1111997. If you've got a motor vehicle, GOL has some great news for you. GOL is rewarding all its prepaying customers with 2 pesos discount per litre on all fuels purchased. You can also enjoy discounts on lubricants at GOL stations nationwide. Elevate your goodness by joining the GOL Go Club today and enjoy up to 3 pesos litre discount on all fuels purchased. GOL, good energy. GOL, Yenara, Iyedia. Phone lines are now open. I think I have a caller on the line already. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from.
Good afternoon. My name is Ben.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Yes, I hope you're doing good.
Indeed. Talk to me, sir.
Okay, good. With this digital revolution that we're seeing in our part of the world, oftentimes I find that there are some people that are not couched for the job. You have to have passion for the job before you enter into it. But everybody thinks that once I can operate Facebook, I can operate a mobile phone, then I'm already a digital person, therefore I can handle everything. So people are going to these jobs without necessarily having the passion, the know-how, and even having the skill to be able to do the job and do it well. So you find that many people enter, and then there's a crash, and there's something called the boom of the .com, which is a digital era, and the fall of it. So what I find about us is that people, the wrong people sometimes are in those positions. I'll give you an example. We started the Ghana Post GPS thing, and Dr. Bawumia told us that it was the best in the world. The truth is there. just the last address you gave, you told us now that they are now going for Google Maps. If something was the best in the world, how come? It is because you need the people to continuously work on the project. So if you don't have the skilled people to work on it, people just go and copy codes from somewhere and come and put together without, you can't get the codes to copy like that. Things change. You have to upgrade the system, system maintenance and all of that. But people are unable to manage this IT project. They just think that it's a one-off something where just get in and get money. But Bill Gates, look at the Microsoft story. Look at how the company consistently employs top-notch scientists. And all of these people, sometimes we have them in our various institutions, but we don't have, the people who can bring them together to really think. And the orientation is wrong because everybody thinks that, as for the IT, marketing, communications, or whatever, wants to get into it, they're going to be a billionaire. And nobody is thinking of it as a career, something they can go in for and do. And people just think that, it is the digital era, therefore I can just fit into it, I can just get into it. And we also don't have the bosses who will employ consultants who know what they can do so they can get the right skilled people to go and work. Some people say they're data scientists. I mean, you put data, they don't even understand data science in the first place. It's data analytics. It's big business. It's serious business. But do we have the requisite knowledge in terms of people who can really man this thing, or we are just giving the jobs to people?
Oh dear, I think we lost you there. But I think he makes his point very clearly.
Yes.
And he explains it. It's very passionate. And I share your passion, my brother. I think that together we will work on it. I mean, the arms of these things will grind slowly. But we'll get there by all means. I have another caller on the line. Good afternoon. You're welcome to Masterclass. Your name and where you're calling from, sir.
Yes, my name is Cedric calling from Spintex.
Good afternoon, yes. Cedric. You're welcome to the show.
Yes.
Please talk to me.
Yes, it's quite informational, and then I'd like to find out, are there places where I can maybe enroll for in-person sessions, especially the digital marketing strategies?
In-person.
Yes.
Okay, so Cedric, we'll answer your question on the in-person, but we want to encourage you because the world is going into online training, and you get a lot of free resource in some of these places. Some of them you pay just about $100 or so. So we will revert to you on the in-person training, but you get a lot of value when you actually do it online because you get to interact with professors and resource persons across the world. And some of these professors, they do pro bono work. So my recommendation to you would be to start online, and then we'll put some information out on our Facebook page to also guide you.
The good thing about online is,
yes, go ahead.
The good thing about online is some of these courses are cohort based. So cohorts, you're working in different teams,
with people in different countries,
different
and you
different
learn
experiences and so
yes.
on. So I think the first port of call that he should. Some people actually don't think they are learning when they are learning online. They actually want to be in front of a teacher, the traditional, what you call it.
But that's what's changing, isn't it?
That's what's changing, yes.
I mean, the first caller was also talking about the fact that the right people are not in the right jobs. The thing about IT is that now we're finding out that with a lot of focus in the field, there's so much diversity. You would think that you went to school to do computer science. Yeah. It doesn't wash anymore. Even information security alone, there are like 50 different specializations.
Of course. And I challenge anybody to go onto EDX and just type in the course that you're looking at.
Right.
It will throw up as many options as possible, being offered by different institutions across the globe.
I really want to read your WhatsApp comments. I don't have any so far. If you're listening, just send us your WhatsApp comments as well, and we'll try and read them. Let's do your recommendations quickly. I have something to do before the end of the show.
Okay, so I mean, I've recommended EDX as a source. Udemy is one as well. For video marketing, there's an influencer called Paolo Campagnoli that people can look at. There's W3 schools, where courses are optimized for learning, testing, and training. Code Academy. Everybody needs to have a little bit of code, so it's important for you to look at Code Academy. And then Treehouse, online tech schools with courses aimed at beginners looking to learn coding skills. Customer experience, CX, is a huge area. Digital marketing, we've talked about, the digital psychology and so on and so forth. So these are some of the things that an IoT from hardware to practice is on EDX, and cybersecurity. And I just had to pick a few
of them
and recommend. But really,
so
just
world of
type
information there.
world of information. If you type that into EDX, Udemy, or Skillshare, any of those places, it throws up many courses and certifications and so on. Some are absolutely free.
There's so much to say. I was watching a video last night, and they talked about getting some of these certifications, and now you can actually work across the world.
Of course.
So you can sit in Ghana and be working in Canada,
I-
and you don't need to go there. You get the job done, you submit the file, they pay you into an account, and it gets done. You're sitting in Ghana, you're getting paid.
Can I a little shout out to Dr. Radha Hackman, who I was talking about this, and I mentioned the fact that somebody in Singapore could be lying in bed in their boxes and coding and programming.
I'm telling you.
And they're making money.
I've got Ajiman Joseph here, Committee 9, aka Ajingo the Man. He says, "Good afternoon, Masterclass. Another great discussion. As I want to do farming, and with the climate change, how do I succeed? What can data do for me?" Hey, Ajingo, please.
Well, farming has also become
No, he's
driven by
asking what
technology.
can data do for me?
Well, I mean, you would have to research what kind of farming
Data
you want
can
to
do
go
so
and
much for you, Ajingo. I unfortunately I don't have the time, but data can tell you about what you want to do, who's done it
You can
before,
do vertical
how it worked
farming.
for them, how you can even market what you're going to
Yeah.
do, how you can produce it, the mechanization you can bring to it. Data can do so much for you, so much. Just go online and start researching. Okay, I've got one here. It says, you didn't add your name. It says, "I'm a geology student and I'm very confused about my career, especially as I study the current job trends and the work future. Everything is going digital and I'm not sure how to stay relevant in this digital world. How do I realize what I need to do so I can also make it?" Very simply, go online, find out some of these top 10 areas we're talking about, big data specialists, find out the areas that are relevant, begin to do some of these courses on the side, online, and once you position yourself properly, you'll find that there's even too much to learn and too little time to do that. I've got Edmond on social media. It says, "Good afternoon, Masterclass. Great information and education, taking into account the current organizational skills needs. How should our educational institutions position themselves to provide these needed skills?" 10 seconds. Can you respond to that?
I mean, we need a rethinking.
Content
of it.
rechange,
Content, training,
curriculum.
curriculum, teachers.
Yeah.
I keep saying need to be fit. Teachers and lecturers
Yeah.
need to be fit for purpose. Some of the notes are going back to
Yeah.
what the 80s and 90s, and it's important that
Okay.
we rethink that kind of
Okay,
content.
Adama
that we
Joseph is saying
deploy.
my emphasis is on rainfall. You will get information on rainfall patterns when, now everything is changing. So the climate is also changing. You will get a lot of information there that will help you make your decisions. I'll come back to you for your final comments, but let me just do this quickly. Seeing as this is our very final show of Masterclass in this year, 2021, God has been good to us. You have been good to us, our cherished listeners. I just want to say a big thank you to each one of you. We actually wanted to get some of you into the studio to spend time with us on our last show. We were unable to do that, but when we come back, we'll try and spend time with you as well. You've been wonderful. You've been listening. You've been contributing. You've made Masterclass a great show. We want to say thank you to our sponsors also. You've helped us. You've been able to bring Masterclass to our cherished listeners. We had some wonderful resource persons in the year. From January to March, we had Richmond Kwame Frimpong, who was taking us through the conversation on the after business growth. We also had in the month of April, Kobe Spikey. He took us through traditional and remote work. We also had Richard Edudako and Mr. Kwao DeGraff Johnson on bookkeeping and accounting for small businesses. We also had Kweku Samson Opare Ajiman, who took us through facilities management in the month of June. In July, we had Mr. Ben Jones Agbai, who took us through labor relations. In August, we had Nijan Mensah, CK Bruce, and Ebo Richardson on the business value of cyber. In September, we had strategic thinking with Dr. Mapa Kwanta, PwC. In October, we did project management with Abubakar Latif. In November, we're spending time here with Richard Osei and him. We want to say a big thank you and Merry Christmas in advance to all of our resource persons. We will by all means come back to you again in the coming year to spend some more time. We also want to say thank you to the Joy Business team in-house, head of Joy Business, Odelia Intiamwa. Boss, we thank you so much for all the support. Nixon, George, Inshira, Daryl, and all the guys. Thank you so much for supporting. Daryl sat in for me a few weeks ago. Thank you so much. And the production crew, my boss, my producer, she's always refused to come on the microphone, but she appears on Lexus Bill's show. So for those of you who want to know who Sarah Amele Josu, she's also called Saminiwa online on Facebook. So just go online, type Saminiwa, and you'll see her, producer extraordinaire. She makes sure that Masterclass comes to us every day. Abeku Saikofi, my engineer number one, he's here with me in the studio right now. Abeku, thank you so much. You've been wonderful this year. Roland, Mirabelle, Anita, Crispy. Oh, and Sammy Forsen on Ignition. Sammy is the one who always introduces the show for me. Thank you so much. This is how we bring the curtain down on our show for 2021. We hope that our business discussions has been helpful in your businesses. It helps you make the right decisions. We'll be back again on your radio and on your TV in the month of January 2022, God willing. And until we come your way again next week, we say that stay blessed, stay safe, let your businesses grow, make the right decisions. And Merry Christmas in advance to all of you. My name remains Yao Banafo. We'll take final comments from you, Richard, and then we round up.
Okay, so thank you for having me on the show. It's been an interesting engagement, but it doesn't end here. In January, we're launching the Future of Work bootcamps and diagnostics and engagements with a wider public too. It's an interesting area of work that we are taking forward with publishing a book with about 14 different authors on different subjects. So those that want to engage further, I mean, they can reach out through you.
Where do they find you if they're looking for
my website or the company website is www.coralreefgh.com.
Right.
You can reach me on richard.anim@coralreefgh.com.
Okay. Is there a number to call?
0506 311 053.
Okay, I've got a...
0506 311
Please go again.
Which one?
Slowly, on the number.
On a 0506 311 053.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
I've
very
got a
much.
comment on social media. You didn't... Okay, this is Sarah Amanfo from Winneba. Says, Yao, it's been faithful listening to your masterclass always. May God continue to bless you. Sarah, thank you so much. I'm grateful. Up next, we continue with the Ignition with Sammy Forsen. Thank you so much for listening, and see you on the other side. Merry Christmas.